Hi skiers, I'm Jeff from skiessentials.com.
I'm Bob. How's it going?
Here we are for our third 2021 ski comparison video. Bob and I kind of chatted about which direction we wanted to go, whether we wanted to just keep going wider and wider or switch it up and go narrower. And ultimately we decided to go wider and wider. So this is kind of like what I like to call mid-100s.
Yep.
It's basically skis ranging from around 104 to 108. And there's a lot in this category, so that's kind of why I wanted to give this grouping some attention. If we have time, we will do one wider than this, but that'll be getting pretty silly at that point.
But those are cool because they're so, even though they're all powder skis, they're so different in shape. Like,
totally.
Here we're still seeing more similarities, and with that wider section, it's just interesting to see how companies approach how to make the floatiest ski.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's interesting. It's all
Yeah.
fun.
That said, I do think we have some nice variety up here. You know, in my mind, I'm thinking like Cochise over there on that side of the wall to Sir Francis Bacon right here behind me.
Right.
Those are wildly different skis, and we'll talk about why. So yeah, that's the gist of it. That's what we're going to get into on this video. 18 skis once again. So Bob, why don't you kick us off with the Blaze 106?
Yeah, so the Blaze series is new for this year. New for 2021, there's a 94 and a 106, both men's and women's. Same construction, slightly different top sheet, so and different size availability. So, you know, just keep that in mind as you're shopping, that if you're looking for a different size or a different color, it's all the same build. But yeah, Blaze 106, and kind of the way that Jeff organized this wall is kind of lighter to heavier this time. So we're not
More
going
or less.
Yeah, more or less. Not really going alphabetical anymore. And so this is one of those skis that kind of is blurring that gap of that 50-50 ski, inbounds, out of bounds, uphill, downhill. But from a downhill perspective, it's still got quite the energy. And these are replacing kind of that 108, 98 and 108 skis, although they are quite different. We got a hybrid light wood core in here, and nice sheet under here for binding retention. Not really that functional. Again, trying to keep that weight down. And then rubber in the tips and in the tails. And so we talked about the rubber used in, was it Rossi Black Ops? We talked about that.
Yeah, we got a couple
time.
Skis to talk about with rubber down the wall.
Yeah, and just kind of a cool, you know, way to use that material. Does a really good job of damping vibrations and isn't too heavy, so it does, again, keep that weight low. But 106 underfoot. Cool thing about this ski is that shape. This gets the 3D radius from Volkl, so you know, really has the capability of making any shape at any time, any shape turn at any time. I'm sorry. And then just a nice long, even rocker profile, both tip and tail. So just a really nice ski from Volkl coming out. It is light on your feet, but does hold. You know, I actually skied this in some firmer conditions and was pretty surprised at just how well that held. And I think the radius has a lot to do with it, as well as just that overall build quality.
Yeah. No, super cool skis. And yeah, like you said, we kind of are going lightest to heaviest, so to speak, with not necessarily true, but that's kind of what we're going for with the way that we organized this wall. When I interviewed the engineer that designed these skis, he was most excited about the fact that they're one of the lightest in this category, and they certainly are. Volkl and Marker, last season they dropped off a pair with the new Duke PT on it, and like it's a really cool setup. Right. I think you could argue that even like the Duke PT might be like a little heavy for that ski. Yeah. But if you're gonna use it as like crossing over between touring and resort, that's a pretty darn good setup. Yeah. And a really good way to think about this ski. I love the 3D radius. It's like way more pronounced in this ski than the other skis they use it in. So this one is 36, 17, 28. So like a 36 meter turn radius is huge, which gives it a really like kind of drifty, forgiving feel when you want it. It's not catchy. It's not like pulling you into a turn when you don't want to be pulled into a turn. So super cool skis from Volkl. And although these are also kind of on the lighter, softer flexing side, they're quite a bit different than that Blaze 106. So this is the Sir Francis Bacon from Line. This ski's been around for a long time. It's changed over the years as, you know, ski technology and designs have evolved. But it's still Eric Pollard ski, and it's still designed for really, really, really playful soft snow skiing. So this is probably the softest flexing ski on the wall. There are some that are similar, but I would give that title to this ski. Pretty much specifically designed for butters, smears, slash turns in soft snow. It's not going to be a speed demon, but if you're looking for a fun, playful powder ski, this is a really, really good choice, especially if you have kind of a freestyle background, want to do kind of some backcountry jibbing, that kind of stuff. Like backcountry jibbing wasn't a thing 15 years ago, right, but now we have skis that are specifically designed for that. One of the cool things about this ski is it uses convex, I hope that's not too close, convex tips and tails. So we talk about that. Let's see, we don't have anything else.
We have an Atomic.
Oh, we got, yeah. So we talked about that a lot with Atomic and their Horizon Tech, and Bob will mention that with the Backland next. This is very similar. I think it's even more pronounced. I think the effect is more dramatic.
Yeah, I would agree.
You know, because it's the full tip. It's not just the sides being picked up. The full thing is turned. So you just get an unbelievable amount of edge release and maneuverability in deep snow, and it also increases the float. So this isn't like the biggest, widest, ridiculous powder ski out there, but it still floats really, really well because of this tip shape and because of that tip flex. You know, it's never going to want to dive. It'll stay right on top of the snow. So super playful ski. You know, I think something that I was thinking about as I put this wall together is kind of how the appropriateness for a touring binding will become slightly less and less as we go down. I think this is a little bit of an outlier to that, because I think this would be a pretty weird touring ski for most people, partly because skins aren't really designed to attach to a tail like that, but also just the overall performance. I think the only person that would really want to put a touring binding on this would be somebody that's touring almost specifically to go build a backcountry jump.
Right.
And in that case, it's great. You saw Tom Wallish use this ski last season as kind of a backcountry jump ski, and it's really, really good for that. But, you know,
I think if you had a snowmobile or something like that, it would help. It would be helpful.
Yeah, yeah. That's a perfect
we'll
application. If you've got a snowmobile or a bunch of friends with snowmobiles and you're going to go ride snowmobiles out into Vail Pass somewhere or wherever and build a jump and session it all day, great ski for that. And it's an iconic name at this point, that Sir Francis Bacon.
You get a lot of interest in that. This is the Atomic Backland 107. This is one of those ones that I think is really like that 106 Blaze, that 50-50 ski.
Yeah, totally.
You could ski this in the resort all the time. It is, you know, definitely on the light side for that application. But the way that Atomic builds these skis, we did the 100 last time, and just how impressed we are with the on-trail capability of this, you know, in an inbound setting. So pretty basic wood core with carbon stringers. They do pop the camber out a little bit, so there is some good response for this. And it's actually a pretty stiff flexing ski, especially in the tail. You know, that tail is very responsive and it's going to hold you up very nicely. Trying to do like what Jeff did with this Horizon Tech. I'm not sure how that's going to show up because it's dark.
Who knows?
Yeah, they basically are thinning and shaping these front parts of the shovel here, and that acts as that boat hull through powder. And like the Line, they're able to increase the surface area of the tip of the ski without increasing the width. So by bending it, they're adding surface area, but not necessarily width. So that makes the ski more maneuverable and playful. But, you know, that flat tail here is kind of the nod to that skin. capability, certainly in contrast to the line.
Yep.
But 107 underfoot with that horizon and the lightweight and maneuverability of the shovel, I think makes this thing a better floater than the 107 indicates. And just a really nice, snappy, overall, strong performing ski for how light it is. But yeah, great ski from Atomic.
They're impressive skis. I think I just every time I get on those backlands, I am impressed by how stable and responsive they feel while being so light. You know, we talked about it a lot with that Backland 100, and I think this is another good one. That Backland 100 was basically designed based off of this ski, so similar characteristics. And I think with that Volkl I mentioned, the Duke PT. With Atomic, you have the Shift, and a few other, Armada is now under the Shift umbrella and the QST as well. But it's, these companies that have a binding department, so to speak, or a binding, part of their business, they are sitting down and developing products to all work together. So, these are like specifically designed to work well with a shift binding. So, in an era where a lot of people are choosing touring setups, this with an Atomic Shift, was specifically engineered to provide really good performance.
And they got the boots to go with it too, so that that all-encompassing company like Atomic will have every piece of hard goods you need for that purpose.
Yep. Moving on to the Elan Ripstick 106. We've talked about these Ripstick skis quite a bit over the past couple years. They've all kind of been given some subtle tweaks into the 2021 season, so a little bit more carbon along the inside edge. That's kind of one of the big things. That was kind of taken from the black edition versions of years past. They basically took a little bit of the extra carbon that those skis used and placed it along the inside edge. These are Amphibio Tech skis, so they have a right and left ski. More rocker along the outside edge, more camber along the inside edge, so that carbon is located along the inside edge, this being the left ski. Another ski that could kind of fall under that 50-50 umbrella, although I think with this ski we're starting to maybe lean a little bit more towards like 60-40 resort touring. So if you're looking for a ski that you can take alpine touring, but you might not be doing that as much as the time that you're spending in the resort, I think this is a good choice. I think a lot of the skis that we're about to look at are really, really good choices for that application. I put this ski towards the left of the wall because it has one of the softer overall flex patterns, and it's one of the lighter. Now, that said, it's still pretty darn stable, too. Especially in terms of edge grip. Just the way that they build these skis is really impressive. So in addition to that carbon along the inside edge, there's also three-dimensional carbon tubes. And we've gone back and forth about this a lot. Those carbon tubes, because their application of carbon in a three-dimensional way, it's absorbing vibrations from like every different angle instead of a sheet. A two-dimensional sheet of carbon is basically only taking forces from the top or bottom. Because of the way that they use carbon in the ski, it feels very, very smooth. So it's got a really good mix of being pretty soft flexing, pretty energetic, pretty stable. You add all of those things together and it's just a very rewarding skiing experience. And I also think they are pretty darn maneuverable too. They work in kind of a smeary, drifty feel with that responsiveness and that edge grip.
Definitely that tip shape has a lot to do with it. It's one of the more unique tip shapes that we see here, that wide shovel, and that really helps out keeping that ski popped up. And, because of that flex, it's definitely that nice floater. And the flat tail is pretty responsive too. It's not, it's not just a soft noodle. It definitely, that thing can complete a turn pretty well. And, we talk about approachability with the Ripsticks a lot. I think that's starting to get a little skewed when we're in this width range. Because in general, skis in this width range might not be the best for an intermediate. But say you're of the intermediate ability level and you've maybe been skiing like something in the mid-90s for a while or just over 100 or right around 100,
and you want to start, exploring softer snow conditions or do more of that, then I do think this is a great choice. And there's a few others, like the next ski we're going to talk about is another good one, and there are kind of this middle section of this wall is all those skis kind of fall under that description.
Yeah, definitely.
But great skis from Elan. They've been producing some impressive skis, and I'd say that about any ski up here, but especially about the Ripsticks. If you haven't skied one of any width, I would get on them and try them, because I think those 3D tubes, those carbon tubes, are really pretty cool.
No, it's always cool to see what they come up with and how well it works, and that's an example of something that you can tell.
Yeah.
So a lot of this stuff kind of, they say what it is and it doesn't really do what it says, but I think those tubes are an exception to that for sure.
Yep.
This is the Armada Tracer 108. The Tracer comes in a 98 and a 108. They also have a narrower version for touring specific, but this is kind of their wider resort tourer. And one of the cool things about this is just this long, low tip rocker profile, and a pretty moderate taper to it as well. So that's going to really pop this thing up, as well as the lightweight and pretty even flex. I actually have gotten a bunch of comments lately about Armada Tracer versus Ripstick.
Yeah.
More in the 98 versus 96, but it holds true for this as well. Where this is a little bit softer, a little bit easier to get on edge, and just more playful in the tail. So I would say that this Tracer, definitely compared to that Ripstick, is a little bit more soft snow, a little bit more free ride oriented, and has that lightweight for a touring application. So pretty basic wood core. They have their adaptive mesh technology here. You can kind of see it through the little window here in the back, where they use these crisscross shapes to alter the torsional stiffness of the ski. We see it mostly with like the Mindbender carbons and the Reckoners that we did last time, the 102, using this type of braided material. Mostly kind of a carbon or a fiberglass type of weave, and how they inlay those crisscrosses changes the performance of the ski. So they make it a little bit wider in the tips and tails, and that gives it more flotation and better playfulness. But really cool ski from Armada. I also am a huge fan of just this trapezoidal area.
Your favorite.
And I love the trapezoidal cut in the sidewall. Just makes it easier to get on edge.
It's more direct power transfer too. Yeah. There's like some really cool physics playing in there that I can't explain. I can just do this with my hands.
Well, it's cool because they build this one into basically the top sheet of the ski, so a little bit thinner in the sidewall, and then it tapers up in that shape. So it just, they're, ultimately they're removing material to make it lighter. And, if you think about all the material that would have taken that hollow place, it just makes sense. Like less material is going to be lighter weight. So, good job of Armada for, not just sticking to the basic, full sidewall shape, but making a little change to it. So
yeah, again, like Elan, it's interesting to see just different things and what they do to a ski's performance. Next up, I remember the last video that we did when we picked up the Ben Shetler 100, I said something like, this is a really good example of how good a ski can be with just a wood core.
Yep.
I think this is another really good example of how good a ski can be with just a wood core.
Yep.
This is the new Revolt 104 from Volkl. There was quite a bit of buzz about this ski when it came out because it's kind of a unique shape.
Yep.
Basically designed for kind of freestyle freeride performance. So, all the promo videos that Volkl put out, they had people, I'll drop one into, I think I have access to one that I can put in here. But it was all, footage of their athletes hitting backcountry jumps, doing cork 7 tails and stuff like that. And really, really cool, the modern freestyle freeride. But when I got on this ski, I was pretty darn impressed by how stable it is too. It's a fairly thick core profile, I would say. It's not the lightest ski on the wall. It's a relatively soft flex, especially in the tail, but it's stiffer up here.
Yeah.
So when you're driving turns on firm snow, it actually feels much stronger than I thought it would. But then it's got unbelievable easy edge release. it's more than just early tapered back here. You know, I can't remember what ski it was in particular, but we talked about taper angle in reference to the ratio between tip width and tail width.
Yeah.
The tail is quite a bit narrower than the tip, which makes it just gives it more maneuverability. And you pair that with the fact that it's got a lot of rocker. It's like really long, low-rise rocker, and it's like super, super maneuverable when you want it to be. So, simple wood core, you know, relatively even flex pattern with a little bit of softer flex in the tail, and a really good mix of stability and kind of like freestyle-y fun factor. I personally would have a blast skiing a ski like this. You know, you could mount it pretty much true center and have it be a park ski. And in talking to a lot of you guys recently, I know there are a lot of you that are planning on choosing this as a park ski, or like an all mountain ski, and then you're also going to dabble in the park a little bit. And I think that's a pretty perfect application for it. Yeah. Really, really cool ski.
Yeah, and very solid for how flexible it is. You know, flexible doesn't always equate to noodle.
Right.
You know, like this is a very solid and stable ski for how flexible it is. And I think that's what sets this thing apart from pretty much anything else on this wall.
I skied the Revolt 95 for a season a few years ago now. Similar properties to that ski, but this is even more stout, more stable. And I just think it's a really cool ski. I've talked about it in contrast to the Reckoner 102 from K2 quite a bit, where this is a little stiffer but uses more rocker and more early taper, and the Reckoner is softer but less rocker and less early taper. So it's kind of like they achieve the same thing in the long run, but they feel different, which I think is really cool.
And that, the Reckoner and that Sir Francis Bacon, all are capable of making very round, clean turns.
Yeah.
You know, and you get that from that more flexible tail.
Yep.
Is that you're able to engage it and that tail is able to hold throughout. You're able to access the whole side cut of the ski. So
you can really bend them.
Yeah, you can bend them and really get that edge angle high. And we talked about that with like even the Ranger FR 102.
Sure.
You know, that's a little bit softer, but you can get all the edge out of it. Here's another new one. This is the Dynastar M-Free 108. These are pretty cool skis. We managed to get testing day on them when we actually had some fresh snow.
It was awesome.
And both of us were pretty darn impressed with how these things go. Much like their M-Pro skis that we've talked about in the past, these use a hybrid wood core, so wood down the center and then polyurethane material extending from the sidewall into the core of the ski, giving it a damp and unique feeling. Other than that, this is one of the more rockered looking skis, especially in the tail. And at this point, just holding up the skis, I'm moving away from saying this is your 50-50 touring ski and moving into the realm of saying this is a resort-specific ski.
Yeah, and to go back to this, I think I was going to mention a lot of people will put touring bindings on these. They're light enough to do that. I just wanted to say, I think we're, with maybe the exception of this ski and this ski, we're moving a little bit further away from that 50-50 ski.
Yep. And what a great resort powder ski to have here. Just that long and pretty aggressive rocker, as well as that taper shape too. So, very, very soft snow specific on this Dynastar. That turned up tail, that just super long, and if you had the other ski here, just a ton of splay in the tail. And that's
long twin tip almost.
Yeah, it's a really unique ski. And really glad we got to test it in snowy conditions, because it is that's where it shines.
Yeah.
And I mentioned it with the Backland, it floats better than the width may indicate. Like, this at a 108 just really feels like you're not going to hit the bottom.
Yeah. No, it was unbelievably floaty.
Yeah.
I'm sure you remember because you were following me with a camera, but I had a blast just kind of wiggling around on that ski, but it also feels pretty stable too when you want it to. Yeah,
and I thought it was cool too. The white tips, they kind of blend in with the snow when you're skiing. It's hard to. That was the one thing that I noticed that was a little strange about them, was that you couldn't really see your tips. Not that you should be looking at your tips when you're skiing, But it was just it was different than when you're used to seeing, especially something as bright as the Black Crows pop out. You know, this white shovel of the ski kind of blends in with the snow. So if you're in the appropriate conditions, you will not be able to see the front of your ski.
Yeah, or if you like, if you happen to lose a ski on a really deep powder day and like just this is sticking up in eastern trees, good luck.
Right.
It's gone. Because now that I'm thinking about it, this totally looks like powder day with like East Coast branches.
Right.
So don't lose a ski on an East Coast powder day.
No, but really, you know, awesome new effort from Dynastar getting that Freeride ski in the category here, and you know, it's a little bit more heft than what we've seen on that left side of the wall there so far.
Yep.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, super cool. And then moving on to the Head Core 105. You know, as we're getting into these cores, you know, and historically we've talked about them being pretty lightweight.
Yeah.
I would say now at this point we've got quite a few options to the left of this ski that are actually lighter. But this core is pretty darn stable too. So if you watched the 100 millimeter comparison, we talked about the Core 99 and that. Pretty much everything we said about that carries over to this, but the 105 is a little bit softer flexing. When I say a little bit, I mean a little
like
bit.
That much.
Because they're both pretty darn stiff, and that's something we've been impressed about these skis since the get-go, is how stiff they are without using metal and while being pretty darn light. So this is definitely another one that you could mount a touring binding on. I have personally seen a lot of these out on the slopes with touring bindings on them, and it makes a lot of sense. Pretty good mix of maneuverability and stability. So with the core skis, as you move up in width, they get more rocker and more taper. So pretty noticeable in this ski, the taper angle or the taper shape in the tip. More soft snow oriented than the 99, the 93, the 87, all those narrower skis. Not as much rocker in the tail, however. There is a little bit, but it's not nearly as much as like that M-Free 108 that we just looked at. So you get a little bit more power at speed, stability at speed, edge grip. You're getting a longer effective edge in this ski. So pretty darn good for somebody who, you know, you want a ski that feels maneuverable, feels good in soft snow, has pretty good float, but still has some stability and edge grip to it as well. You know, I think this is a really good powder ski for stow.
Yep.
You know, I see a lot of people on skis, on Core 105 specifically, or skis that are very similar to this at stow, because we get a lot of firm snow. Like even on a powder day, you're going to encounter like some icy scoured spots somewhere. It's nice having a little bit more edge grip, a little bit more stability, but still have a lot of soft snow performance as well. So really cool skis. They use super unique combination of materials, Karuba wood core, graphene, choroid, and carbon. So those first three terms are not terms that we will use to describe any other ski on this wall, except for the Karuba. That Armada has some Karuba in its wood core as well. But pretty darn cool what Head has achieved with these cores, and happy to have it back for 2021.
And it's just as much different, that spoonier tip shape. You can definitely tell the difference between when we did the 93 and then the 99 and now just looking at the 105. It's amazing how it just even looks that much different and lends to that more soft snow.
Yeah, so far I think that, you know, that's the most aggressive taper shape in the tip that we've seen, and maybe the most aggressive on the whole wall. So some obvious soft snow performance in that design.
And they kind of have to do that to offset the stiffness of the ski.
Yeah.
You know, in that width.
Yeah, exactly.
Without that taper,
it's
going to be more hooky.
Kind of going back to how I was comparing this ski with the Reckoner.
Right.
You know, it's that contrast between shape and stiffness specifically in the tip of the ski.
Yep. Up next, we got another new one from Kastle. This is the ZX108. Affectionately known as the Drifter. This is a pretty cool ski because they are actually kind of targeting that a shade below the top end of the price level. So, you know, I think they're trying to introduce Kastle to Generation Z.
Yeah, exactly.
Generation Z. I don't know if that was by accident or on purpose, but
Generation Z is like really young, right?
I don't know generations.
They're younger than me.
But anyway, people that haven't racked up millions of dollars to spend on skis at this point in their lives are now being able to access, a Kastle ski and a Kastle ski in a Freeride format too. So that's pretty cool about this. It's a little bit lighter. There's no metal to it. Still benefits from the hollow tech. It's basically kind of their old BMX 105 non-HP from here up. And then a little bit more like, more like the MX-99 from the mid
Or maybe more
down.
like an FX-106.
Yeah, okay. Yes, very much so. And so playful in the front, a little bit more responsive in the back, and just a really fun overall ski. I wish we had gotten a chance to get on this past year, just because it just hits a lot of those notes in a certain way. But pretty nice flex. Nice and even as you would expect any Kastle. Definitely got that more playful in the tip. And then the tail is, a little bit stiffer, but you definitely feel a lot of that stuff coming, a lot of that flex coming from the tip here.
Yeah, and pretty good, I feel like that ski is one where I can start using my favorite phrase of pretty even mix of performance characteristics. Yeah. They call it the drifter. And as we were talking about this ski, I was looking at that ski and I was thinking well, it's not as drifty as that.
Right.
So it's got that nickname, the drifter, but that said, there are certainly skis that will be driftier.
Right.
Which I think makes sense given kind of Kastle's heritage and their feel. Griffin Post was a big factor in the design of this ski. So if you think about the way that he skis and kind of the big mountain terrain that he skis, really good way of thinking about the drifter, the ZX108 here. And to go back to 50/50 skis, they put a little skin attachment point on the tail of these. So definitely a ski that if you're looking for a really, really good resort powder ski, but something that you can also take into the backcountry and do some touring. I think that's a really, really good choice.
Yeah, it looks cool too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's really cool. Like you said to start, I think it's awesome that Kastle has developed a ski that's still really, really good. Yeah. Still a really high-end, high-performing ski, but not quite as expensive as we see from traditional Kastle skis.
Well, they're just trying to get you in the door, so then they have the Kastle customer for life.
Yeah, which is it's not hard for them to do,
right?
In a sense, if you start down the Kastle road, it's hard to get off that road because the skis feel really, really good. I guess you could say the same about Black Crows. There's this Black Crow skis have a strong following, and they have kind of a unique feel. And I would say the same thing. Once you kind of start down the Black Crows road, you might be a Black Crow skier for life. It seems to happen. The brand has a lot of strong loyalty. And this is their most popular ski. So this is the Atris. This is probably the Black Crow ski that we get the most questions on. And, it's pretty darn wide, so it feels silly to say this, but it's kind of one of their more versatile skis. It's still sitting in a soft snow category. I think you could say the Justice is more versatile, or the Camex or something like that. This is a little wide for daily resort use, but in this category, it's pretty darn versatile. And another good example of how good a ski can be with just wood.
Right.
So this is just poplar, and then they pair poplar with a really, really good shape. So quite a bit of camber underfoot, but quite a bit of rocker too. And this is almost a twin tip to the point where if you want to ski backwards or want to take off switch, this is a ski that can certainly do it. I know it can do it because I have friends that ski it and I have watched them do it. But it's also pretty stable too. I would say in overall directional performance, these two skis are pretty darn close. And I'd even throw the QST in there too, in terms of maneuverability paired with stability.
Yeah.
They all three kind of have a really good mix of that. But in that group, this has a little bit more pronounced rise out of the tail. And I, as somebody with a freestyle background, I look at this ski as something like a ZX or a QST, but with a little bit more freestyle influence in it. And I think that's a really, really good way to think about it in general, and to think about yourself as a skier. When you're choosing skis like this, if you want a little bit of modern freestyle freeride performance, I think the Atris is a really, really good choice. And again, I know this because I have some friends that have the exact setup, certainly one that you could put an alpine touring binding on. I think we're getting to almost the end of kind of that discussion of skis that fall under that umbrella, but this is definitely one of them. I have a friend here in Stowe who has an Enforcer 110, and he got a pair of these as a slightly softer, slightly more playful, a little bit lighter ski that he can put an alpine touring binding on and do some uphill skiing. Yeah. So, great ski from Black Crows. I love what they did with the graphic too for this year.
Yeah, it's much better looking than last year. And then also on that nice orange sidewall, you can tell how they get more power underfoot by having that full vertical sidewall underfoot, and then it tapers off as it gets to the tips and tails. So that's just another way that ski companies can take a simple wood core and change the performance based on either shape or how they put that ski together. This one's been around for a couple years now. This is a Salomon QST 106. And, why change a good thing? This thing has developed a following.
Yeah, it
has a really strong place, both in the resort and the backcountry. They're kind of taking their QST line and trying to push people into that 50-50 ski. I've always felt like these are a little bit on the heavy side for that application.
Yeah, and I think that's fair to say about the Atris too, and pretty much anything from like here over.
Right. And again, this is another ski without metal in it that accomplishes the same type of feeling with other materials. So, they use their basalt and they use their wood core, and they're able to use their CFX fiber and really kind of get these different materials working together to generate power and stability without the weight of metal. It's still like it is on the heavier side for sure.
Yeah, I think all the QSTs are for some reason. Yeah. They're not like ultra light.
No, they're not. And, this thing's got some stiffness to it too. We talked about this with the newer, I'm blanking on it now, the 102, Stance series. How Stance borrowed this built-in tail rocker here, just this really nice long rocker profile in the tail. And they got it from this ski here. And it just really makes that back end of the ski just totally floaty and playful.
Yeah, interestingly, I think there's a lot of similarities to the Atris.
Yep.
I think the rocker in the QST is longer but has less splay, whereas this is shorter but more splay, which kind of gives it that more twin tip feel.
Yeah, this definitely has that more freeride aspect to it, and not a ton of that taper going into the back. So again, those two things are kind of counteracting each other. But still creating that fun and playful ride. A little bit spoony in the tip, kind of like that core. Not quite as pronounced in terms of the splay, but nice long, low rocker profile here too. So, really good overall, complementary use of materials and shaping and rocker profiles. And that's why this ski hasn't changed for the past 2 years.
Yeah.
So just, whether you're using it as your resort powder ski, I think we could say this about a lot of these, is that they'd be great stow skis because we get those kind of frequent but smaller snowfalls that you're never really submerged in, but it's nice to have that extra width. So, bumping up from that 100 to this section for, a snowy day stow ski would be a really good option. But just, same thing from all the Salomon QSTs, just a really nice overall damp feel for that ski with no metal. It's pretty impressive how they do it.
Yeah, extremely well-rounded and a pretty big audience too.
Yeah.
A big range of skiers that can get on those and really enjoy them. Kind of some similarities to the Ripstick too, in the sense that neither uses metal, but they both achieve really good vibration damping. And here it's those 3D tubes. In that ski, it's the carbon and the flax.
Yeah.
That's CFX super fiber, and then there's some rubber in the tip too, I do believe. And speaking of rubber, we've talked about rubber quite a bit. We started in that Blaze talking about rubber. I don't think there's any company who has used it as much as Rossignol has in this ski. So we've talked about Rossignol's line control technology quite a bit. This is the brand new Sender, and instead of vertical strips of metal, which the Sender Ti does use, this uses vertical strips of rubber.
Yeah.
And then there's other rubber applications in this ski as well. And you also get some cross-hatching fibers in this ski too. So really, really good ski. This is essentially designed to replace the Sol 7. And it has some similarities to the Sol 7, but it also has some differences too. I can't remember which video it was, but I brought up the similarities to the Enforcer shape and talked about that Enforcer tip. If we had the Enforcer 100 on this wall right now, I would put it right next to this ski because I feel like it has a pretty similar shape. But this is designed for directional freeride performance like the Sol 7 was, but longer effective edge, more stability, more vibration damping from that rubber. It's a really cool ski. I really like this tip shape, as I've said, with Enforcers, because when you're riding a flat ski, you do get some nice maneuverability. Then as you tip it up on edge, you get longer and longer effective edge. So there are going to be skiers that they look at these new skis and they want to go straight to that Sender Ti. I think that's something that happens in ski choice a lot. As skiers, we kind of gravitate to the biggest, the best, the stiffest, strongest ski. That ski's only available in 180 lengths and up, where this is available in a huge range of lengths. And this is still a pretty strong, powerful ski. It's certainly no slouch. If you're looking at it and thinking Sol 7 and thinking like it's not going to have edge grip on firm snow, stuff like that, you're definitely wrong. And I think most skiers are going to find plenty of edge grip and plenty of stability in this ski and won't need to go to the Sender Ti. And that's obviously true if you're choosing a length below 180.
Right. You
don't even have an option at that point. But I think Rossignol listened to feedback on the Sol 7 and gave us a really, really good ski in accordance to that feedback. So the highlights of the Sol 7 were always its fun factor, its maneuverability, its performance in soft snow, its maneuverability in the trees. This ski retains a lot of those things. It's still really good in that application, but it's a much, much stronger ski.
Yeah.
And I think they did a really good job with it, and I think it's just got fantastic directional freeride performance for a more traditional skier, we'll say. Somebody that is comfortable unweighting the tail of their ski. They don't need something that's going to feel ultra drifty. They don't need, or don't want, rather.
Yeah.
They want more feedback out of the tail of the ski. The Sender is going to be a really, really good choice.
Yeah, and I was just about to say, I think that's the biggest refinement that they've made in this ski is that tail that, in that sole was definitely pretty soft and pretty light.
Yep.
And, this is just a totally different animal, as well as just the overall flex, especially in the tips. Much stiffer in this ski.
Yep.
Even though they're using that same type of air tip, it's actually more similar to the air tip found in like the Experience 92 than the older Sol skis. But again, just keeps that nice and light. But it does have some stiffness to it, that's for sure.
Yep.
It's definitely no noodle. Next up, we got a Nordica Enforcer 104. This is that first width in the free range of the Enforcer series. So after 100 going up, we're going into the free, and that basically means that we're getting more tip rocker, tail rocker, as well as a tapered shape. Similar construction here to the Enforcer with the wood core and 2 sheets of metal. We got carbon in the tips, and they've narrowed it down here in the tip to make it a little bit lighter and more maneuverable. But the big difference is that longer rocker profile definitely has more flotation to it, and that early rise in the tail as well. So the tail is really where the shape differs from the narrower enforcers. More 70-30 rocker versus 80-20 out of the regular enforcers. And there's not a whole lot that this ski can't do out on the mountain. This is our first ski with multiple sheets of metal in it. And it behaves as such. It's pretty impressive how stable this thing is. And even with that longer tail rocker, you might think it's going to be a little bit drifty, but I found that it really holds tight to the end of the turn.
Yeah, when you want it to, absolutely.
Yep, and in a good way. And at the same time, you can release and be more playful with the shape of the ski. We're just seeing more and more of these things come out as that wider ski in your 2-ski quiver, and just makes a lot of sense in that application, especially if you're already part of the enforcer family. If you have a narrower one and looking for a wider one, but you don't need a 110, this is just it's a fantastic ski in a great shape.
Yeah, no, great skis. And I was just thinking to myself, as we've gone down this line, we've looked at some lighter skis, some softer flexing skis. We've gone through kind of some more well-rounded, even mix of characteristic skis. Now we're getting into more aggressive, heavier, stiffer, more vibration damping. Just mostly because of the way that I ski, I always like to point out the twin tips.
Yep.
The end of the wall, we've got 5 more skis. Out of those skis, this is the only one with a twin tip.
Yep.
So if you're looking for more powerful performance, more vibration damping, a more aggressive ski, but you still want a twin tip, this is a really, really good choice. Yeah. I'll admit that I own one, and that's basically the application that I use it for. I still want to have a twin tip, even though I'm probably not going to do anything crazy. I generally don't take these into the park or anything like that, but my skiing style, I still want a fast, stable, aggressive ski, but I still want it to have a twin tip. So I just thought I would point that out, as we go through this wall, if something like the Sender sounded great to you, or the Sender Ti sounded great to you, but you want a twin tip if you have a little bit of a freestyle background, this is great. And then the other benefit of the twin tip is it's going to help skiers in trees. Even if you're a directional skier in tight terrain like that, it's really going to help. This is a fantastic ski from Fischer. Every time I look at this ski, I think competitive big mountain skiing.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else feels that way, but that's how I feel about it. This is the Ranger 107 Ti from Fischer. So Fischer's skis are really, really cool, and they're doing a lot of things that kind of set them apart from other companies. Most notably, I think, is the carbon nose.
Yeah.
It just gives the ski a really unique feel, and a big part of that is the light swing weight up here in the tip. So really, really good float from this shape, and because it's lightweight up here, so the tip just always wants to plane on top of the snow, but then the rest of the ski is pretty darn stiff. So you get a lot of soft snow compliance up here, but then you get a ton of stability from the rest of the ski. So this can be a fun resort powder ski. But I always think about it as a big mountain charger. If you're the type of skier, maybe you live out in Colorado somewhere and you just love going to the high elevation terrain, and just finding an open area where you can make some big aggressive turns. I think that's a really, really good application for this ski. I think somebody here in Stowe can ski it too. But you need to be aware that because of the tail shape and because of the overall stiffness of the ski, it certainly won't be the easiest when you take it into tight trees.
Right.
Even comparing it to the Enforcer 104, this thing feels a little bit lighter, I think it feels a little bit lighter on your feet, but I think it's a more demanding ski. You get more, the ski wants to hold its edge, it wants to track, which then kind of turns into more speed, whether you want it or not. And it's just, yeah, it's a ripping ski.
Yeah.
You know, I think there are some further down the wall that are just as aggressive. In fact, the last 5 skis there are all pretty darn aggressive. But yeah, these Rangers are really cool. The way that they blend this tip and the soft snow feel with just a really powerful, stable ski. You know, I remember watching Marcus ski this ski, and it seemed like a great ski for Marcus.
Yeah.
Marcus is like 6'5" and 230 and pretty strong, powerful skier, and this thing really like supported his weight and his strength, and he didn't have any trouble manipulating it at his size and ability level. So great ski. They do put a skin attachment point on the tail here. You know, it's kind of similar to, say, like the Drifter or some of the other skis in the sense that it's not super, super light. But if you live out west and you want like a real big mountain touring ski, it doesn't get much better than this.
And I found that these skis, other than the tip, you know, I said that some of these 107s float wider. I think that these don't float as well as a 107.
Yes.
That we've already talked about. It's definitely more of that all mountain performance out of it. So, you know, if you're looking for a floaty ski, you know, outside of from here up, this thing is just, it is all there. It is very responsive. And very
it's like,
demanding.
you know, more knifey and very precise.
Yeah.
Rather than like a drifty M-Free 108.
Right. Yep. And then back to a little bit lighter, but still a hard charger, Stockli Stormrider 105. You know, we talked about these with the 88s. They're just extremely light, and they do have a flex to them, which is really nice. You know, even something like the Salomon here is stiffer in a hand flex than the Stockli. And you know, one of the things I like to say about these is that the softer flex allows you to access all of the available side cut. So you can get this thing up on edge. It's not planky at all. It's very lively, very energetic. And as I've said before, a lot of it has to do with this metal top sheet. So that's the first point of contact from your boot to the binding to the ski. So that binding to the metal top sheet really makes for that direct transfer of energy, giving this ski a totally unique feeling. And it does come with that premium price tag that we've talked about with other Stocklis and other Kastlis in the past. And just the build quality and the finish and, you know, the precision that they make these skis with warrants that if your wallet does too.
Yeah. We've talked a lot about that metal top sheet, just how great that is.
It is, and it allows them to, you know, use the rest of the ski effectively. They don't have to waste, you know, other areas in the ski to put another sheet of metal in there. But as these Stocklis as these Stormriders, get wider, they also get that increase in taper as well as rocker. You know, very similar to how other brands within brands do. In the tail, though, we're looking a lot more like this Ranger here.
Yeah, or even like a Sender tail.
Yep.
You know, there's some similarities there. Pretty flat.
Very flat, both, you know, taper and rocker wise. Even more pronounced in the Stormrider here, where, you know, that tail really goes to the end. So firm snow, you know, a lot less rocker than we see in, you know, some of these other ones in the tail. So this is going to give you that better on trail performance, as well as just being able to hold up better. So as they go lighter with their ski, they need to counteract it to keep that performance up. And that's how they do it here, is by that nice flat tail shape with pretty minimal taper.
Yeah, really cool skis.
Yeah.
And you know, as we're going down this line, one of the other things that I was thinking of when putting this ski together is kind of a willingness to release your tail edge and drift versus tracking ability. So if you're like the type of skier that really likes to make big open carves through choppy snow conditions.
Yeah.
A lot of the skis down on that end of the wall are really, really good at that, and I think the Stormrider 105 is one of the best.
Yeah, it's got to be up there.
Yeah, just the way it like, the slightly softer flex, the way it like absorbs just variations in the terrain. It's just such a cool ski. This is another cool ski. I put this to the right of the Ranger and the Stockli because it's a little heavier. These Mindbender skis do have some heft to them.
Yep.
This is the Mindbender 108 Ti, and as the 108 Ti, it's the widest ski in K2's entire line that uses metal. So another ski that kind of, the way that I think about it is more hard-charging big mountain skiers. If you like going fast in open terrain, this is a really, really good choice. Uses K2's Titanal Y-beam, so we get metal along the edges of the ski, full width underfoot, and then that metal kind of tapers to just the center of the ski in the tail. Really, really cool performance, and works really well for a ski in this width. Works well in narrower skis too, but I find it's maybe more noticeable in this ski in the way that you can drive really powerful turns in the forebody of the ski. But then I do think, even though it's heavier and just as stable and just as powerful as the Ranger and the Stockli, I do think you get a little bit easier edge release out of the tail of this ski because they position that metal in the middle, and because there's a little bit more taper and kind of rounded off, rockered shape in the tail there. It's not nearly as flat and squared off as that Stockli.
Yeah.
So still very strong and powerful, but a touch of maneuverability and a touch of playfulness in this ski. I think this is the 179. Yeah, this is the 179. So this is the length that every time I ski this ski, I keep coming back to. I have skied the longer length, and at my size, I felt like I lost a lot of playfulness in that longer length, which is kind of, at least here in the East, it was one of the keys to why I really enjoyed this. Like, I had fun skiing this in tight moguls, even though that's not really like its intended use. You can do it because of the way that they build the tail and shape the tail. So really, really strong skis. It belongs down there on the right side of the wall, but it's got a touch of playfulness too. But still, I don't want to I don't want to take away from the fact that it's a powerful, pretty aggressive ski. They make a women's version, a women's carbon version. It's technically the 106C on the women's side, but I think it'd be pretty fun to have a 108C too. I think that might hit like a wider range of skiers, where this is pretty aggressive.
Right.
But yeah, super fun ski.
Yeah, and as always, my favorite little trapezoidal sidewalls here.
Yeah, and they even put that extra material in there.
Yep, just beefing up that sidewall underfoot for that better hard snow compliance. But yeah, just a really fun shape, and that build works well for a lot of different applications. Certainly, I would say, like you said, topping out here at the 108 with that Y-beam construction.
Yeah, we don't need a 116 Ti.
I don't think so. Now the Rossignol Black Ops Sender Ti. So we had this sender earlier. Very similar in terms of their shape and their profile. Definitely a little different in the construction. Like Jeff mentioned, the Titanal line control technology going down the middle there. And we've talked about this before, that line control technology does a good job of preventing the ski from counterflexing, bending the other way. And that kind of takes some of that lag time off of the transition of the turn, makes for a smoother, more powerful turn. And since it filters down from their race room technology, it's got a pretty cool application in a wider ski.
Yeah.
And so also the carbon matrix in here as well. So again, dealing with that cross-hatching of carbon materials, and they're able to adjust the torsional stiffness that way. So, definitely stiffer and more responsive than the normal sender, and available only in lengths 180 and above.
It's like 180, 187, and then
they got
like
a big
194.
192 or 194. Yeah, it's pretty cool. But again, just kind of a flatter overall shape. There's not a whole lot of camber or rocker here. It's a pretty flat ski, and like you were saying, that really helps with this movement here. That kind of side to side pivoting movement. becomes a lot easier and more fun on a ski like this. So even with that burlier build, you're still getting the shape that allows you to pivot and smear, giving the ski, more of that free ride mentality. This also has a metal laminate underfoot, so here to here, not just for a mountain zone, but also gives it stability because it is metal over the edge. So you're gonna get good carving power out of this, even though it's that wider ski. This one's 104 underfoot, and that definitely puts it into this category, that mid-100s that can do a little bit of everything. I got to ski this on, again, kind of a harder snow day, and was pretty darn impressed with how well this ski at this width held an edge on harder snow. Would love to try it again in softer snow, just because of that flatter profile, and I think that's what sets it apart. Our next ski notwithstanding, in terms of that flatter shape. But really cool stuff from Rossi getting out in front of this. That same kind of blunted, almost enforcer shape nose here, and making that ski more. This is the more approachable version than this, but they're definitely expanding that performance category into that directional free ride.
Yeah, we had a day at Mad River Glen with Rossignol this past year, and shout out to Austin Stewart, one of our Rossignol reps. He grew up skiing Mad River and knows like every line on the mountain. And I was on these, he was on the Holy Shred, and he took me to some pretty tight, pretty technical lines. I don't think we filmed any because we were pretty deep in the woods and it was just like too much. But it pushed my ability to, maybe not its limits, but it definitely tested my ability as a skier. So I think that's something to think about if you're choosing a sender, whether you need the TI or not.
Yeah.
Like it was, it's a lot of ski, and it definitely requires some precise unweighting of the tail in tight Mad River Glen terrain. But I still had a lot of fun on it. And, when we got out of those tight trees, I was able to kind of just like blast through stuff when I wanted to. Like I went really big through like a mini mogul field, and just landing, you just let the ski go straight and just skip over things. You ski with me a lot, so you know that those are things I like to do on skis.
That's fun.
Yeah, super fun. So great skis, but think about whether you need the TI version or the just the normal sender when you're choosing them, and definitely reach out to us if you're curious. We spent quite a bit of time on both skis last year, so more than happy to talk more about the differences between those skis, because I think there are going to be a lot of people wondering, which one do I fall into? Like as myself, somebody who skis a 180 generally, I've got two options, a 178 Sender or a 180 Sender TI. So if you're like me and you feel like you're, struggling to make that distinction, just let us know.
And conversely, I don't really have that option.
Right.
I would get this in the longer length, and
right. They do have a 186 of the Sender, but yeah, I think the build of the Sender TI works better for 225.
Yeah, 220.
220. Sorry about that. Next up, and the last ski on the wall, is the Blizzard Cochise 106. Boy, this is a lot of ski.
Yeah.
And I'm glad it still is. They changed this ski a little bit for 2021, but they retained just about everything that was true about the Cochise before this. Yep. Slightly different width underfoot now, but when I say slightly, I mean slightly. 2 sheets of metal in this ski, and to be honest, 2.5 sheets of metal in this ski. There's 2 full sheets of metal, and there's another sheet of metal underfoot. It's also, without looking at the tail of every single ski, you guys can tell me if I'm wrong, you're smart. This is the biggest turning radius on the wall. And because of that, those 2 sheets of metal, 2.5 sheets of metal, and biggest turning radius, this thing is a tank.
Yeah.
It is a missile. It's whatever analogy you want to use. It's really, really, really strong. You see Blizzards, basically, before I go into that, it's orange. Basically, anytime you see the orange color from Blizzard, it means it's an athlete level ski.
Yeah, it's fast.
Yeah. They put that orange color on the Rustler 11 as well. So basically anytime you see somebody in the Freeride World Tour that's on a Blizzard ski, it's going to be this or the Rustler 11. And if it's like a super demanding course or venue and the snow conditions on the firmer side, I can pretty much guarantee they're going to be on this. Yeah. It is strong, it is stable, it is stiff, it has incredible vibration damping, it has 0 speed limit whatsoever. Right. No matter whether you're 150 pounds like me or Bob's size, it is endless stability, endless power, really good vibration damping. It tracks like a dream through choppy snow, but it's heavy, it's tiring, it's demanding. So, you know, where the mid body of this comparison, a lot of those skis were pretty darn well rounded, this is starting to, you know, it's kind of like, what did I say when we started this video? Polar opposites right there. So backcountry jibbing here with the Sir Francis Bacon, big mountain charging there with the Cochise 106 is I think the, you know, the best way to think about the Cochise. I personally wouldn't want to put an AT binding on there. I think it's just a little too heavy.
Yeah, that's a snowmobile ski right there.
That's a snowmobile or a helicopter ride to the top of your venue type ski. But I am really glad that the Cochise exists. I know that there are a lot of other skiers out there that agree with me. I don't own one, but it's a ski that I really enjoy getting on because it's just like, I feel very similarly about the Bonafide. You know, it's a wide Bonafide. It's got 0 speed limit. It's very precise. It just charges. And sometimes it's really fun to just charge.
And you had mentioned it doesn't have a speed limit, but it does have a speed minimum.
Yes.
So this does not have slow speed compliance like a lighter and more flexible Stockli does.
I guess it has a little bit more for 2021 than it ever has before.
A little bit more friendly of a shape.
Yeah, but still not much snow or slow speed performance.
No, you got to get this thing going, you know, and that longer turn radius is pretty much, that's the culprit there, is in order to get this thing up on edge and going, you have to be going pretty quick. So, you know, if you're not, you're just going to be, you know, it's going to skid a turn. It's not going to be able to carve, you know, a round turn because that's not what it's made for. But yeah. Everything you said, you know, I skied this on a choppy day and was glad to have, you know, the chop there to kind of see what it could do. And yeah, you know, a lot of these other skis, you can see, I think, I don't know which one you had mentioned, you can see the, you know, I think it was the Sender where you can see it, you know, the flex in the flap in chop is helpful. You know, there was none of that going on here. This thing just wanted to track and go straight through any chop or crud. So, you know, this is the tool for that job, not necessarily the tool for lots of other jobs.
Yeah, and not a ski for anybody.
Right.
You know, it's a ski for the 5%, maybe the 2%. I don't think it's quite fair to say the 1%, but you got to be up there among the, you know, if you're take your group of skiers. Are you the most aggressive out of that group of skiers? Then maybe the Cochise is the ski for you.
Yep. But it's very metallic. I mean, very, very metallic.
Yeah, I'm very. You know, now that you do that, I apologize that we did not do the ski phonics test through this whole line.
We'll do.
Right.
I mean, that's just a huge difference.
Yep.
In terms of how they sound in terms of the knock test there.
So yeah, that's it. That's 18 kind of mid-100 underfoot skis. As always, let us know if you have any questions. If you want Bob to put out another video that's just tapping his knuckles on every single ski,
I'll be happy to do it.
That'd be kind of fun to make, too. It'd be a short little video. So let us know if you are as interested in ski phonics as Bob. It's something that we do to like every ski that we get here at Ski Essentials, or more specifically, Bob does it to every ski that we get. But yeah, it's kind of fun. So let us know if you're interested in that. It'd be kind of fun to put together. There is one, I think I mentioned at the beginning of this video, there is one more group of skis that's wider than this. But I think before we get to that, we'll go narrower and then also maybe work in some women's skis too. New for this year, we're going to do a mid-80s all-mountain comparison.
Yeah.
So we've got a mid-80s and we've got a front side coming up. So those two will likely be next. And then we got big powder skis after that. We got twin tips. We got women's skis. So all sorts of stuff to look forward to. So yeah, thanks for joining us.
Bye.